Welcome to our first ever live. We wanted to try something different, so we thought we would just go ahead and do a live instead of doing our typical podcast episode on Apple or Spotify. So we're super excited to chat with you guys today. I'm going to let's see here. Hello!
Hello.
It worked. We're just learning all the things. So I absolutely love this. This is awesome.
Yes, love it.
First ever Living Big Live podcast episode slash our first live
Yeah,
ever.
I what did you call it? Yeah, because your girl's sick. We wanted to do it together. It's fine. It is what it is.
I'm so
It's
sorry
sixth season.
you're not feeling good. It is
Eh,
sixth season.
I'm
It's
definitely
like
feeling better
every
though.
week. Every week I feel like it's something new, which is the
I know.
worst.
Actually, like it has been every week for me.
Uh-huh.
Something not feeling great.
Yeah, like
Tissues
every
in the back
weekend
of
when
my
it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's not fun
supposed
though.
to feel better, but it's fine.
Well, today may be a tiny bit chaotic just because we both have children at home. So, we may have to pop it in and out. There will always be, at least be one of us talking,
Yeah.
but we're excited. Someone has already joined. Welcome, welcome to the Living
Yay.
Big Live. We are talking specifically about kindness today. And we're also getting ready to wrap up season 1 of the podcast, which we haven't talked about a lot yet, but we are going to be transitioning from every single Monday to seasons that will be scheduled. You guys will know in advance when they're going to happen, but we're hoping to kind of really theme our content and help you guys get the content that you want with seasons. And I think it's going to be super beneficial. So I'm very excited for that. But coming into the new year, we're going to have a new season and we've got a few episodes left. Those ones will be regular. They won't just be here on Instagram Live. They'll be on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube like normal.
Yeah.
And season 2 is going to be packed with awesomeness. We already have really cool guests lined up and everything. And so we're really, really excited. Marley and I are both way into Disney, as many of you probably know. And if we have any other Disney adults, comment in the comments, let us know you're here.
Yeah.
But we love the live action Cinderella. I think it's probably like the best live action that there has been in all of the live action Disneys.
Agreed.
And we both watched that movie almost very first when we came back from our mission. I think that was both like our first movie that we saw after we came back from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And for me specifically, I felt like it was super awesome to see that there was like goodness in the world, because I was trying to reintegrate into the world and I felt like there was a lot of craziness and drama and divisiveness. And Cinderella, the message of having courage and being kind, was just like so helpful and so uplifting and really, really helped me reintegrate into the world. So I still love it. We watched it the other day with my daughter and she's obsessed now. She wants a blue dress. I mean, who doesn't want the Cinderella dress? I literally looked at it and I was like, I want the Cinderella dress. Like,
It's
it's
so
so
beautiful.
cute.
I love it.
Yeah. So, but we really, really love the message that it talks about in there that her mom taught her. And welcome everyone who's joining.
Yay.
Of having courage and being kind. And I think that's especially hard as the world gets messier and messier.
Agreed.
And we really wanted to focus today on both aspects a little bit, courage and kindness. And we encourage you guys to participate, like leave a comment if you have a comment that you feel like would be meaningful, or a question, or, an experience. We want to hear all of that. But first, talking about what is courage. When we say courage, what does that mean? What does that look like? I feel like courage for me is facing or accepting maybe some discomfort or fear in pursuit of living like authentically. So for me, it is like putting myself out there, even if I feel afraid, or I feel like someone's going to judge me, or that maybe I'm not 100% sure how to do something. Like I go for it and I do it anyway. And I think it's kind of like a fearlessness. That doesn't mean you don't feel scared, but you come out and you do the thing
Yeah.
and you try to face it like boldly and bravely. I feel like bravery and courage kind of go hand in hand for me.
Oh, I love that. I
What do
love
you
that.
think courage is, Mara? What's courage for you?
Well, kind of like in preparation for this episode, I was thinking about how I want my kids to be fearless. I want them to do maybe a little bit scary things like going down a slide or jumping off of things. Um, and I think that's like a very kind of easy visual way to look at courage is being able to do something that maybe is a little uncomfortable, a little bit scary, but still doing it anyway. Maybe you've got a little bit of anxiety, but you're doing it scared, right? You're just doing it anyway. I think that that to me is what courage looks like. I think courage and bravery are pretty synonymous, interchangeable, um, because I think both of those words don't necessarily mean that you are completely fearless. I think that it's that you are doing it despite the fear that maybe you have or the discomfort. You're doing it anyway. I love this. Let's see, Audrey is saying my senior quote was, "It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice." After losing a school election, and my opponent friends were really mean to me. Oh, that's so sad. I'm sad they were mean to you, but I love that senior quote. That's really, really sweet. Love that.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you learned that lesson despite some meanness. And like in Cinderella,
Yeah.
she learned how to continue to be kind despite people not maybe giving that back to her,
Mm,
which I think that's maybe one of the hardest parts about kindness. When we think about kindness, we're like, oh, yeah, like I can be kind until someone is mean to you. And then, like, can you actually turn around and be kind to them back? Or do you want to like rip their head off? Sometimes I want to. But
yeah.
I think this is an important message. And I was just recently in Washington with my sister in law. She just had her third baby. And every day she kept reminding her little 3 year old and 1.5 year old, I can be kind all the time. I can be
Mm,
kind all the time. And I loved that she was not only like telling them that and giving them that mantra, but like really modeling that for them
mm,
because it's hard, especially with toddlers and little babies and things as they're learning to share and they've got their own special toys. I mean, to be honest, that's how it is as an adult too. Like
yeah.
we want our own stuff we don't want to share and people say something to us on Instagram or in real life and we're like, "Ah," like that stings a little bit. So
Yeah.
I really love this. Like it's more important to be nice than it is to, be important.
Mm,
And that's a really hard lesson to learn. So I really love that.
yeah.
Um, Thinking of some examples, I wanted you guys to think about this too. What is a time that you did something scared? What is a time that you went after something you really wanted, even if it really freaked you out? I know that for me, like all growing up, I've talked about this before, but hi, baby. I've talked about this before, but anytime I did like any kind of piano recital or had to stand up in front of people, I was so, so scared. And at first, I used to think, oh, I should just quit doing that thing then. I should just not play the piano in front of
Mm,
people. I should just not get up and bear my testimony at church. I should just not go for like distinguished young woman because I'm too afraid. But I decided to do it anyway. And it really, really strengthened me. And it showed and kind of proved to myself I can do hard things. I can be courageous. I can be brave, even if inside I feel a little bit scared. And every time I grew a little bit more and it got a little bit easier to the point now where, like, even though it still kind of freaks me out, I push myself to do those things because I can feel so much growth in me, which I think is amazing. Welcome, other friends who are joining. We're so excited to have you on the Living Big Live today, talking about courage and kindness. But if you have any experiences, please drop them in the chat. What was a time when you did something scared?
love it.
Another thing that we love Brene Brown. We've brought her up multiple times. She's beautiful, amazing, just so smart.
Yep.
We love gleaning goodness and wisdom from her. And she had an awesome quote about courage. She said, "Courage motivates us to face our fears, stand by our values, and pursue our true selves, even when the world seems against us."
Mm.
And that's beautiful. Marley said that the book Daring Greatly might be a really good book to read. Have you read that one, Mar?
I haven't. No, I've read a few of her other books, But as I was kind of doing some research for this, Darren Greatly kept coming up and like quotes from the book kept coming up, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe this would be a good book for us all to read,"
Yes.
because it's all about doing things scared in
Hmm.
pursuit of finding your authentic self
Yeah.
and finding more of yourself. So,
For me, like doing things scared helps me know what I actually enjoy. I feel like if I never went out of my comfort zone, it would be really easy for me to just kind of stay in my bubble, but then I might not discover, like Marley was saying, like my true self, something I
right,
really enjoy. And then other times I'm like, did that, was scared, hated it, never doing it again. Good to know. Like, we'll just move on out of that. But
agreed.
I want to be able to find like what makes me happy and joyful and fills me up. And so that means trying new things, which for me is sometimes scary.
Yep,
So I love that.
agreed.
What are some
Definitely.
ways that you guys can be courageous? What can you do right now in your life to be courageous? Kind of an interesting question.
Mm.
Another quote from Kreber, it says, "When we live authentically with courage, we experience greater satisfaction and inner peace, as there is no ongoing conflict between our true selves and the persona we might otherwise present."
Ooh, I love that.
So,
I need some peace these days.
yeah. We encourage you guys to seek after being courageous. Not only, I think being kind actually also does take courage. And I think, especially from the example of Cinderella, it took a lot of courage for her to be kind. Some might look at that and say, oh, she was weak. She let people walk all over her. And while I agree, you don't need to get tromped on in order to have kindness and be courageous. I do think looking at her stepmother in the end and saying, like, you are forgiven and I'm going to move on. I'm going to do my own thing. There was still justice served.
Right.
Her stepmom still had to move out of the house, and so did the sisters and everything. But she never once, like, went against herself and what she truly believed and was, like, horrible to them, which I thought was really beautiful and really impactful and hard to do.
Oh, I think that's I think it's so interesting how like kindness and courage come together so well in the movie. And that's like the whole mantra of the movie. I love it so much because there's this moment where, she is being completely trumped on and she's really discouraged, but then also is able to like find little pockets of joy throughout her time, at least portrayed in the movie, right? And I feel like that's something that maybe we struggle with is like when we're not living in courage and kindness, we have a hard time finding joy and feeling peace in our life. And I feel like kind of the antidote to maybe that lack of joy is to find ways to be kind, is to find ways to be courageous and kind of push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, whether that's something we do individually or whether that's something we do involving other people. I don't know. I just feel like maybe one of the main antidotes to feeling discouraged, a lack of joy in your life is to go out and be kind and
Mm-hmm.
push yourself a little bit.
I know for me specifically, anytime I'm feeling really down in the dumps and really upset, or, just kind of like the world's a bad place, the best cure has been out to go out and serve someone else and to get
Mm,
out of my own head.
mm,
And so I think it's really, really easy to kind of look inward and say, oh my gosh, like everything's hard for me and just stay in that bubble. But I think without like looking outward and putting yourself out there to help other people, you might not be able to get out of that headspace. And that doesn't bring you inner peace.
right.
And it just makes things worse. So even when it's hard, it's really worth it to look out and be like, who can I serve? How can I be kind to someone today when I've had a hard day?
Mm.
I think that's really beautiful.
I love that. And I feel like, and this kind of goes into our next topic here, specifically kindness. Um, but I feel like we build up kindness or serving others as this big, grandiose thing, when in reality, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy. You can hold a door, you can smile, you can tell that mom that does have a lot on her plate that she's doing an amazing job, like it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be anything crazy. And like, just that little bit, I feel like is enough to inoculate you and that person against maybe the doom and gloom that we're surrounded by.
Yeah.
So,
I think even just noticing someone can
Mm,
be a huge act of kindness that doesn't take a lot out of us.
hmm
Recently, I've just been inspired by my 2.5 year old. Like, she's the kindest thing on the planet. She's so friendly. She wants to make friends everywhere we go. We went to the grocery store the other day and she randomly walked, she didn't walk up, she was in my cart, but she waved to this old man across the grocery store and he came over and she's like, "What's your name?" And she got to know him. We had a whole 15-minute conversation and he walked away and he was like, "That made my day." He's like, "I've been
Oh,
having a really hard day." And it was so nice. Like, she reached out to me. He's like, she noticed me. I'm
mm,
like, it's a 2.5 year old, but it impacted him so greatly. So, like Marley was saying, it doesn't take a lot to be kind to have a massive impact. Like, you can do the smallest thing, but the impact is going to be like a mountain,
mm.
which is so cool.
Oh, we can learn so much from little kids who don't see, I don't know, any of the things that we see as adults, like stereotypes and cynicism and things like that. They just don't see any of that, right? And I love it. I just want to be more like our little kids who just want to be buddies with everyone. So
Yeah,
I love it.
they're so cute.
Yes. Now, kindness has a not only an emotional impact, but it has a physical impact on our overall health, not just mentally, emotionally, but like physically. Kindness doesn't have to involve any sort of money or gifts, and it's all about the intention. So let's kind of get into maybe some research behind why kindness is it it's good for our health, our physical overall health. Okay, I think we've read this before, but it just says, as a reminder, according to an article by the Mayo Clinic, kindness has been shown to increase self-esteem, empathy, and compassion. Those are all things we want to increase, right? And improve mood. It can decrease your blood pressure and cortisol. A Sorry, Mingo's yelling at me.
Can't even hear them. You're
Good.
good.
Okay. Good. It can decrease blood pressure and cortisol, hormone directly related, correlated with stress levels. People who give of themselves in a balanced way, keyword balance, also tend to be healthier and live longer. I mean, I want to live longer and happier because I'm nice to people. Kindness can increase your sense of connectivity with others. That is one of our mantras there. Decrease loneliness, combat low mood, and improve relationships. It can also be contagious, encouraging others to join in with their own generous deeds. Oxytocin is the stress reducing chemical that is responsible for the positive effects of kindness. It is released in our brains when we give or experience kindness. In addition to reducing blood pressure and decreasing cortisol levels, it is also thought to decrease inflammation in the body and may be protective against obesity and cancer.
That's crazy.
Kindness is a cure for cancer. Please don't quote me on that, but that's what the Mayo Clinic has said. And
Marley said something funny. My little girl's like, "What happened? Why are you laughing?" It was reminding me when you said it can be contagious. I'm like, I love prank wars, right? We've talked about how I like to pull a good prank,
yes,
all in fun, not anything mean. But I was like, what if we did kindness wars? Like, what if it was like
ooh,
you were kind to your neighbor and then they went out and they were kind to the next neighbor and then they were kind, like, and I really do think it can be contagious and can continue on like that. I know for me, for random things, like one time I was at a work lunch with my team and I found out that someone paid for our lunch. After that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go do something like that for someone else. Like, what
mm,
can I do? Can I do something kind of like that? Every Christmas, me and my husband really try to think of something we can do in a little bit more of an impactful way with like money. And last year, my family specifically, my mom was like, hey, we're going to give each couple a couple $100 to go out, which if you don't have that, that's not what I'm saying. You don't have to do this kind of thing. But we were like, she's like, go out into the world and find someone who needs it. And Hiram and I, we were super excited to give it to a grocery cashier who walked us out, was like extra helpful, extra kind. He was young. He obviously like didn't have, wasn't making a ton of money at the Macy's, you know, the local
mm.
grocery store. And so it was fun to give him some money. And it's just fun to look for different ways to help people. But I really do think the contagious part is super awesome.
I love that. And I think we're getting into this season of maybe gratitude and serving and kindness and things like that. I
Yes.
think it's really it's one of the best times of the year. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fun in the summer and all that fun stuff, but there's something really special about
The
taking this
spirit of the
time.
holidays.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. And it's kicking off right now. Did everyone know it is World Kindness Week and today is World Kindness Day? Isn't that nuts? Today is
Yeah.
World Kindness Day, kicking off World Kindness Week. So
We could not have planned that better if we had tried, I feel like.
we didn't. That's the thing. It just kind of came up.
It was
So
serendipitous, or
very,
was it fate? We don't
yeah.
know.
Who knows? Mm, yeah. Anywho, it's so helpful to everyone around you and yourself when you can n- notice people, when you can have that intention of spreading joy, spreading kindness, whatnot. I think it's incredible what it can do for you. Um, I had an experience kind of like what Kylie was saying, where someone like paid for her meal. I was with some work people, and someone noticed at my table that I was with my work people. I noticed that there was a group of young teenage boys. They were probably 15, 16. They were pretty young. And they noticed that they were there. And this person was like, they are literal zygotes and I need to pay for their meal. They shouldn't have to pay for their meal kind of thing. Like they were children, right? And it just was so sweet to see their reaction. Because this was like an anonymous thing, right? This person was like, I don't want them to know. They don't need to know who it was that paid for them. Um, and so, but we were kind of leaving the place at the same time, and they were like, "What just happened?" Oh my gosh, it was so fun. And it like I had no participation in it, right? I didn't help pay for it, but it still affected me and showed me that I can notice other people, that I can get outside of myself kind of thing. I don't know if I would have noticed these people, these young teenage boys, but they were obviously very grateful for it, and it obviously affected them and it for sure affected me. So it's just fun. It's fun to see how goodness can affect others around you, even if it's not like received super well, whatever, you know. The whole point is to spread goodness, is to show that there's more than just divisiveness in the world. It may be a little more poignant recently, but there's more in common with us as humans and what we're going through than the opposite, than what we
Yeah.
don't have in common, you know?
I
So
think the
those are some of
farther
my
we
thoughts.
get from people, we think that there's less and less in common because so much of what we see is digital and online rather than in
Mm,
person. But if you were to talk to actual people about whatever topic it is that feels very divisive, I think most people would agree that there's more in common than there is the alternative way,
I love
than there is
that.
different. But it can be really hard. Like you don't see the real person behind the phone sometimes.
Yeah,
And so it's really difficult to always be kind or have kind thoughts. And
yeah,
it's just easy to kind of get in a bubble and think, like, oh, I live in this alternate universe. Even when you go out and you talk to real people, it kind of takes away, desensitizes us to like human
yeah.
interaction, human feelings, human emotions.
I agree. I think also what we're talking about in noticing people, in actively doing those little bits of kindness for yourself and for other people, it takes practice. These are skills that take time to develop, that they take practice to develop. You're not going to always get it right, you know. I think we think it should be built into us, and I do think that we do have goodness built into us. But being able to harness that goodness and spread that kindness to other people, and maybe using a little bit of courage to spread that kindness, it definitely is a skill that we can all be working on probably for the rest of our lives. Um, I think that I think being able to notice people, it takes intention, it takes skill to be able to see who might be needing something, who, you know, yeah, I think it's a skill that we can all work on.
Yeah, it's never too late. Like you don't have to think, oh, well, that's just not something I've ever naturally been good at, so I guess like I can't participate.
Right.
Like, or even like I'm somewhat decent at it, so there's nothing left to learn. Like there's
Yeah.
always more we can do. And Marley said, like Marley said, practice, 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 practice. The more you're doing something, the better at it you're going to get, the more you're going to recognize other people around you, the more you're going to actually see opportunities to serve someone, to be kind.
Yeah.
Because for me, like I said, my baby reminds me all the time, my toddler reminds me of moments that I used to kind of just naturally see, but now I'm busy. I've got a million things going on in my head. Whenever we do anything,
Yeah.
I'm like, we got to get this. So sometimes I am clouded by my own thoughts, by my own busyness, by my own self. So the more I can like work that muscle,
Mm.
the better it's going to work later and the more often I'll be able to do that.
I
So
love
I love
that.
that. Yeah.
So good. Just it's been fun to talk about having courage, being kind, how the two intersect. I
Mm-hmm.
think this is a really good way to kick off kind of the holiday season.
Yeah.
Um, going into going into the rest of the year, we've got obviously really special holidays here in the States, and I mean, I love the idea of setting kind of an intention for these holidays, and so that's kind of what I'm going into this
Yeah.
whole season with.
One of our favorite things about the podcast, and one of the reasons Marley and I wanted to do that, and I've said this a lot, was that we want to put goodness out into the world. We all want to be contributors of goodness, and whether we like it or not, we are all contributors to the world. So, what are we contributing? Are we contributing kindness to the people online around us, people we know well, strangers?
Mm.
Or are we not? And can we change that? And in this holiday season, I really think this is especially a good time to really, really be honing in on that, practicing that, thinking about it. And to start that off this week, every day this week, we are going to be putting out a kindness challenge on our stories. We want you guys to participate. It's going to be a lot of fun. Marley and I are also going to do all of the challenges, and we're going to report back to you on what we learned, what the experience was like, what happened with the individual. And then we want the same thing from you guys. If you guys participate, we'd love for you to report back any cool experiences that you have bringing light to other people. We
Mm.
want to flood the world with goodness and actively focus on kindness, specifically this week, but always, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, Today's challenge is actually going to be Online Kindness Day. We'll put this in our stories as well. But for those of you watching the live or who go back and watch the live, our challenge is that we want everyone to leave a thoughtful comment or DM someone whose content you enjoy or who inspires you. So let them know, hey, I love this thing. It will just absolutely brighten their day. I know anytime Marley and I get those messages on any kind of content we put out there, it makes our entire
Yeah.
life, right? And so go out there, specifically online today, and leave a thoughtful comment or DM someone and just tell them why you like their stuff or how it inspires you, what it means to you, or how they've impacted you positively.
All right. Mm. Such a fun challenge today. I think it can be hard to, or maybe it can be easy to hide behind our phones and say things that maybe aren't as kind. But you know what? We have an opportunity to do the opposite today,
Mm-hmm.
so challenging you all to spread kindness. I love it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it as well. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
jumping on the live with us today. Hopefully, this inspired you to go out and do a little bit more, to embrace the fear, to be
Yeah.
yourself, to be courageous, to be kind, to move through the hard things, to accept who you are, and to really give opportunities to others to get to know you, as well as always being kind. We love you
Mm.
guys. I almost said be safe, be kind, be hot, be happy, or whatever, but that's not our slogan. So,
No, that
but
one's
it
not
fits.
ours.
Be hot, be kind, be safe, all those things.
Yep.
Spread light. We love you guys.
Bye,
Bye.
friends.